of this review. This talks about writing an absolute value equation or an inequality for the graph. Remember, 2 points. That means I've got, let's see if I can do this. This means I've got an equals. Here, this is going to be an or, which is greater than. This is going to be a less than. This is a less than. This is a less than or equal because it's got solid points. So you can go through very quickly and write that stuff in. Now, for each one of these, you need the center and the distance from the center to either end. How do we find the center? Well, that's easy. You add the low number and the high number and divide it by 2, and that gives you your center point. So -4 plus 9 divided by 2. That's going to be, that's going to be 5 halves, which gives you, it's a fraction. It's okay. You can do that. 5 halves. And then you need your r. Remember that r is this distance. Well, this guy, 9, that's the same thing as 18 halves. So if I do 18 minus 5, r will be equal to 13 halves. So I know that this is going to be x minus 5 halves will be equal to 13 halves. That's how you do it. Okay, if you had trouble, pause for a minute and go through and find the center and then the distance from the center to either end point of each of these, and then come back and we'll look at all the answers. Okay, I got number 14 done, just to sort of speed up the video just a little bit. The center, the low plus the high divided by 2 was -6. The distance, the high minus the center, 5 minus -6 is 11. Remember that it's x minus the center, so x minus -6 is x plus 6. Here's my answer. Over here, what's halfway between 0 and 8, you ask? Well, hopefully you don't actually have to put that together, and you know that that's going to be x minus 4. And the distance from 4 to 8 is 4. And then it's less than or equal to. Over here, I know that it's going to be less than. And I've got my x minus. But what is it, x minus? Well, I have to do, my center is equal to -5 plus 3 divided by 2. That's -2 divided by 2. That's -1. So this is going to be x plus 1. How far is it from 1? From -1, sorry. From -1 to 3? Well, it is 4 units. R is equal to 3 minus -1. And here's your inequality. 17, 18, 19, and 20. If you have to, pause the video, rewind it, go back, look at it again. For each of these, okay, the center is equal to 16 plus 48 divided by 2, sorry. And that's going to result in 32. And then you're going to do R, 48 minus 32 is 16. This is a greater. You're farther away from 0, not closer. So you're going to have x minus 32 is greater than or equal to 16. Okay? Over here, this is an equals. So we have our center is equal to -21, plus -5, I was a little fast with that, divided by 2 is -13. Our distance is -5 minus -13. We wind up with 8. This would be the absolute value of x plus 13 equals 8. So far, so good? I hope so. All right, next one up. Let's see, number 19. We have, change colors, our center is equal to 0 plus 9 over 2. And that's going to be equal to 9 halves. And that's 4.5. I would take it either way. The distance is 9 minus 4.5, which is 4.5. And when you take a look at this, it's less than or equal to, so absolute value of x minus 4.5 less than or equal to 4.5. Excellent job. All right, let's keep it going. Okay, and finally over here, we have the center is equal to -7 plus -3, okay, divided by 2, and that gives us -5. R is equal to -3 minus -5, which is 2. This is going out, they're open dots, so the absolute value of x minus -5 is greater than 2. And you have done writing equations, absolute value equations and inequalities from a graph. Now, what about applications? To represent each situation described below, and then you have to write an inequality. One of the big things here is you got to figure out what is the center and what is the distance. And is this an equals or an inequalities? Most of these will probably be inequalities, but for an essay competition, Shauna had to write an essay that was more than 250 words, but less than 500 words. Okay, so that means that she is from 250, her essay's got to be from 250 to 500, right? So that's an and. Well, what is the center? Well, what's halfway between 250 and 500? Hopefully you know that it's 375. So the center is 375, and the distance from one end to the other is 125. So for an essay competition, she had to write an essay that was more than 250 words, but less than 500 words. So she's got the absolute value of x minus 375 has to be less than or equal to 125. Okay? Now, number 22. A candy manufacturer puts 240 pieces of candy into each bag. The bag can be off by 8 pieces. Well, that means you've got 240, but it could be off by 8. So you could have 248, or you could have 232, right? What is 240? 240 is the center. Ding, 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 ding. And you want to be between these two. So that means that the number of pieces of candy minus 240, the absolute value of that will be less than or equal to 8. See, draw pictures. Pictures help. 23. Your math scores are 68, 78, 90, and 91. What scores can you earn on the next assessment that will achieve an average, that should be an average, not and average, an average greater than or equal to 85? All right, well, first off, you got to figure out what do you need to get as a minimum, okay, in order to get the 85. So this number 23 is a bit of a challenge. So I'm going to work it out down here. So that means that you've got 68 plus 78 plus 90 plus 91 plus this last test, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you want an average of an 85, okay, or greater. So let's first see what this would be. Well, you add all that up. First off, you multiply both sides, okay, let's see here. Multiply both sides by 5, and you add all these numbers up, and you wind up with t being equal to 99. Now, that's great and all, but what's the most you possibly get on a test? Oh, 100, right? So you've got your test score minus 99, and that's got to be less than or equal to 1 in order to get an 85 or better. This is the part that a lot of students forget about. Okay, you got to figure out what was this last test score. Okay, actually this last test score I believe was a 98. 98, 99, sorry, 99, and he's in the center. Now, whoops, give myself room down here for this next one. Boom. A contractor estimated that her expenses for a construction project would be between $700,000 and $750,000. She already spent $496,000. How much more can she spend and remain within her estimate? Well, for starters, she's already spent $496, right? And she was going to spend between $700,000 and $750,000. So the first thing you have to do is take the $496,000 away from the $700,000 and from the $750,000. And that gives you your new low and your new high, because that's what's left. Okay? So let's do that. Okay, so now he has left to pay $204,000 up to $254,000. That's how much is left. Okay, because she has already spent the $496,000. So now that we have that, we need to find the center. So if I add those two together and divide by 2, we get 204 plus the 254,000 divided by 2, and we're going to have 229,000. That's my center. And then we can do the 254 minus the 229,000, and you get 25,000 is the value of R. So she can spend 229, 1, 2, 3 zeros, less than or equal to 25, 1, 2, 3. Okay? Getting the idea? Most of the time, most absolute value inequalities in applications are going to be a tolerance. It's going to be between. Very rarely will it be beyond. So, suppose you used an oven thermometer while baking and discovered that the oven temperature varied between +5 and -5 degrees from the setting. So if you set your oven at 350 degrees, what are the possible actual temperatures? All right, first off, remember that this is now your center. You're 5 above or 5 below. So if you take the actual temperature and subtract the 350 degrees, that should be less than or equal to 5. That means you should be between 345 degrees and 355 degrees. Number 26, workers at a hardware store take their 15-minute morning break no earlier than 10 a.m. and no later than noon. Let C represent the time the workers take their break. Write an absolute value inequality to represent the situation. Well, first you got to decide, are you working in hours or minutes? Decide that. And the fact that it's a 15-minute break, okay, this is, C represents the time the workers take their break. It's not the 15 minutes. It's not from till. It's what time do they start. Well, between 10 a.m. and noon, our center is 11 a.m. Noon minus 11 is equal to 1 hour. So that means that they're going to do their whatever time they take minus 11 has got to be less than or equal to 1 hour. Okay? Now we've got 27 and 28. Caleb is a machinist at Golden Eagle Chopper Shop. To ensure the reliability of the motorcycle engines produced at the shop, Caleb machines each cylinder to 4.01 inches diameter with a tolerance of 0.00002 inches. Write an absolute value inequality to determine the cylinder's diameter, then solve for the range. Well, he's going to bore it out, subtract off the 4.01, and this has got to be less than or equal to 0.00002. So when you do that, you're going to get some crazy numbers. 4.01 plus 0.00002. That one's pretty easy. The upper limit is 4.01002, and the lower limit is going to be 4.00998. Yeah, 998. Okay, and that should be inches. There we go. Number 28. At the Colgan Design Center, the average starting salary for a new designer is $33,600, but the actual salary could differ from the average by as much as $1,560. Write an absolute value inequality to represent the situation, then solve for the salary range. Well, your salary minus the $33,600 has got to be less than or equal to $1,560. What does that mean? Well, I've got 33,600, and I'm going to add 1,560. So the upper end would be $35,160, and the lower end would be the 33,600 minus the 1,560, and so that would be $32,040. That's it. That's all there is to writing these out. Okay? Now you know how to do it. Go for it. Review, practice, ace it.